Seconds. We're live. Welcome in social media. Stay with me. Don't go anywhere. On to 10. I don't know. I use the entire wrong intro music this morning. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm like, wait, that's
It's like a
Fairfax
little
on Gun.
different. A little
Sitting here
different.
like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. So welcome in to Bridging City. Of course, we here at 21.6 the Net feel that, well, it's better to be caught in the net and have conversations and be open-minded and love everybody. We know that can't happen though, so we're going to address a lot of the topics that cause a little bit of tension throughout the United States and perhaps the world. And of course, with me, it's a whole new look. I'm sitting here in the producer's booth, and I'm doing a terrible job at producing. And my good friend, co-host Phil Wallace, is remote today. You are healthy now.
Healthy now. Man, it was a rough week last week, but I'm good though. I'm good though.
Yeah. These two hosts have been stricken by the COVID. Mine was
The
back in
vid.
December. Yours just recently, and you're healthy, and thank God you are. Thank God it wasn't uh, a horrible case which put you in the ICU as some have. So
Yeah.
uh,
So I can't complain with it, man. I had a fever and chills for 2 days and then back to like just a headache and being tired. I've got some great naps in though. Some
oh
great
man.
naps.
But you never woke up like, man, I feel good. It's how you were still like, oh, I could still be sleeping, which is great. But a
Could
lot has
right.
happened in the last couple of weeks that we need to be able to chat about. What's on your mind this morning? Of course, for all those listeners, and we are humbled and blessed. Right now, averaging right about 850,000 listeners for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and putting up with our rambles sometimes, right? But very, very humbled. And if you want to get a hold of Phil, how do they do that? He froze on me, but he looks good frozen there. So anyway, check Phil out on Facebook. He is there. Now are you back? You back? Are you there? You're choppy. Your Wi-Fi is cutting in
There
and
we
out, bro.
go. I don't know
There
what
we.
was cut.
Yeah, I don't know. See,
Hear
there
me
he
now?
goes. Good. We'll get it figured out. It's a joy of the internet.
Look at it. Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. What's on your mind?
I know that we did talk about the situation with the military and in Chicago with the weapons. We've
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of the crazy week conversation. I do know at one point of this conversation I want to talk about something for maybe next week. Then, as far as like who are you building a bridge with? I, with having the conversation that we have, we never want to seem like we're attacking any group or going against any group, and kind of want to be able to switch things up and talk about like who are you building bridges with? Because if you tune in, which is awesome, we appreciate it and we love it, but we're not
Yeah.
actually proactively building bridges with people and having conversations and getting certain topics on the table, right? And pursuing, let me listen to another individual and hear a side that I may not agree with or believe, but at least I can get a better understanding of it. Are we proactively doing that during this crazy time right now?
Yeah, no, we can run with that this week too. I mean, that's a cool thing. I think that the interesting thing about this show, and I share it with a lot of people, and everybody's like, "Oh, hey, that's cool," and of course we've got a ton more listeners than I ever probably thought would tune in, but it has allowed me to open up conversation
Right.
and listen without getting angry. Like, hey, you're an idiot. which I tend to do, right? Uh, but the interesting thing is it has at the same time it's allowed me to separate from people who don't want to have that conversation. All they want to do is argue and scream and
Right.
yell, and so it's allowed me to understand who I want to have that conversation with, if that's a good way to put it.
Right. In the business we talk about, you can be skeptical, but don't be negative. You can be opinionated, but still be open.
Right.
Right. You can have your emotions, you can have how you feel, you can have your stance on certain topics, but really all it boils down to are you willing to hear and consider a side that isn't yours? And would that consider at least be empathetic or sympathetic or at least compassionate or okay, I may not have made this choice, but I can at least understand why they feel this way about that, even if your stance doesn't completely shift.
Right.
I think one of the big things that you just said, people who just want to voice their own opinion and are concrete and solidified versus those who are actually trying to listen and have that healthy dialogue.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, debate teams in collegiate debate teams, high school debate teams, the first thing you do is you learn the other side.
Right.
It's like a chess match. If I'm going to debate this point, I need to know what the counterpoint is to that. And I
Right.
think that's what a lot of people don't want to do. They don't want to take the time to go, let me understand where you're coming from before I debate this. I just want to be angry and yell and say, oh, wow, well, it happened to a white guy.
There is the one off where it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you gotta love in those conversations. And when you're having these conversations with people, it's not just learning, the enemy side, right? I'm not going to learn what you're going to have as a rebuttal, so that way I know and I'm better prepared to attack you with my side.
Yeah.
No, like learn the other side to hear and feel maybe an ounce of where that other side is coming from or why they believe what they believe. And me and you had that sit down at the Panera and you're telling me certain things about, political people. It's like, all right, well, that part makes sense. I can get that. And with that, I may not shift completely on this stance, but that part I can completely understand with. And now we can move forward. It doesn't have to be World War III just because certain things don't align with belief systems.
Yeah. I mean, therapists are good for that, right? A therapist or a group session, perhaps, that I might be in is a good place to vent and yell and get it out, right? And
Right.
not have to change my opinion because it's healthy and that's the way it is. However, when it comes to race issues, when it comes to political issues, when it comes to poverty, when it comes to anything that there's a line drawn in the sand, um, you know, that's an interesting thing. So you and I had a conversation, Phil, and here's what I mean by that is I had a conversation with a retired high school history teacher, taught for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and he went on his social media and apologized to his students of all those years because he didn't he didn't teach all the history, which I found was very, very interesting for this guy to say and be like, wow, I taught out of the book. I didn't teach all of history. So there's those moments that's what I'm talking about is there's those aha moments in what we see and how we feel, and people can change their minds and attitudes and that's important. Uh-oh, he froze up again. There he's back. He's gone. He's back. He's gone. Are you in? You're out. You're in? It's riveting, riveting radio. All right, are you back? We got you. Can't hear you.
Is it going away?
There you go. Go ahead. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Spotty Wi-Fi today. Go.
No. We were talking about the history teacher and what they are allowed to say and not to say.
Yeah.
Is it still chopping out?
A little bit. A little bit. Yeah, must be the
Oh my
smart
God.
meters. Yeah, I'm with you. Right, from the prior show. So, as you know, we don't want this show basically to be a place where we're just hollering at each other. We don't want it to be a place that where we just vent. We want to actually build bridges. We want to be able to bridge so that we can all get along. And it's okay to say after years and years and years of one belief to go, huh, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe Phil can stop being, you know, Phil, turn your Wi Fi off if you can. It helps on the Zoom FaceTime.
Let me see.
If you use, yeah, that's Ashley says that. So
Let me see if that works.
it'd probably be better, yeah, just going off of your phone stuff. We'll get him. We'll get him back. We'll get him back.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh,
Not now. All right.
what
So
about no?
that's what this. That's what bridging civil tension is all about. Is we don't want to, right? We don't. I don't. I listen. Just because Phil has had a different experience in his life than I have in mine, I can't keep saying, Phil, quit playing the victim. Phil, quit playing the victim. It's his experience. And when we have that experience, I tell people all the time when I'm talking about this show, Phil, is that I I never knew growing up in Iowa, in a in a city, Burlington, Iowa. I'll give them a shout out. That is probably 50%, to 40% African American and 50 to 60% white. I never noticed. I never noticed things, but it's like the old well frog, right? The well frog looks up and sees a big shiny light as long as he's down in the well. As soon as he comes up to the well, he sees the whole world. There's times in your life, I think, when you see different things and you grow and you can expand your eyesight and your horizons. And that's what bridging civil tension is all about. Do we got you now? I hear you. Uh-oh. I wonder if he can hear us. So, as we're talking about that, here's a guy who absolutely for years. I mean, he retired. So I'm going to guess he was a history teacher for 10 to 30 years and taught history one particular way. And all of a sudden, he sees the difference in what the way things are or the way perhaps that he should have been. Phil, welcome back.
Hey, there we go. Is it better now?
Much better.
There we go. There we go.
So
Sorry.
yeah, so the idea is, and that's why I was saying, and you know this analogy. I was talking about the well frog. The
Right.
well frog's down there and just sees a bright light, like oh, and then comes up out of the well. And he sees the world. So
How's that go again?
yeah, ooh, so there's that moment of being able to have conversations with somebody who's got a different experience. That now you're up out of that well. You kind of start seeing life differently.
Right. I wonder again. I heard you touch on when someone tells you their experience, and the feedback is just the assumption of that person just playing the victim. How do you get to that mentality where a person tells you this is just what happened? I'm not dwelling on it. I'm just these events occurred, and because they occurred, and because they occur so often, this is what needs to change. People to get to the position where they're able to hear that without just thinking victim.
Yeah.
Versus being able to actually, okay, yeah, here I wouldn't want this to happen to someone that I love or to myself or to anyone that looked like me. So therefore, let me listen with a way of how can I help versus arms crossed, thinking this person is just trying to play a victim card of some sort. Just by telling you about the things that happened to them. How do we get to that point?
Well, I think that a lot of it, and there was some on the grounds this morning as well, is there's a lot of just your skepticism because of your experience, right? So growing up, and I'm like, oh man, I never looked at it that way because I never had to, right?
Right.
But instead of opening up, I want to sit down at the bottom of the well and say, oh, look at that big bright spot, not knowing that there's a whole world out there. So I think in general, there's just people who are skeptical, and no, that's wrong, Phil. You're playing the victim. Oh no, it's horrible. So the people say, "Come on, Kent, you're just agreeing with everything, everything." All right, yeah, because I'm open minded.
Right.
Now you don't know the conversations that Phil and I have off camera in the green room and things like that, and the whole thing is when we talk about any I won't even call it just race issues, but anything now. We've got hackers that are getting paid millions of dollars. We've got states that are opening up, and people are like yes, and people are like no. And I just heard this morning as I was getting coffee at Panera, oh, I'm vaccinated. CDC says I don't need a mask in here. No, you do, because there's a sign on the door that says wear a mask. And this is a pride identity, right? No shoes, no shirt, no service. We're okay with that. But hey, no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service, right? Oh, it's a freedom. Is it? So I think there's just that skepticism out there that says, hey, my experience is a lot different, so you're wrong, and you know what, you're playing the victim.
I mean, even with the mask situation, part of the LGMC, and we were having an event, and there were people who were kind of voicing wanting more freedom, and there was an individual who was very quiet. And when you had a conversation with the lady afterwards, found out because her father passed from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a matter of perspective. You may think that it's not that big a deal and that they're fabricating numbers, and you're saying that to someone who lost a father.
Yeah.
Like a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you can't just say that this person's an idiot because they're wearing a mask. No, this person had a recent experience, and this is why they feel that way.
Right. Whole different experience.
You're
playing the victim and masks. Why don't you talk to my dad who passed?
Right.
So yeah. So I think it's that way. I think too, we've become a society, especially here in America, of your opinion is wrong, and my opinion is right.
I agree with you. I just feel that if it's based off your personal experience or based off the experience of a lot of people in that demographic or from that race or from that area, whatever the case may be, if I'm hearing that many people say the same story or have the same experience or have the same thought towards a certain thing, I can't tell Kent that he's wrong if thousands of other people feel the same way as Kent. Based off the information and based off your experience, you've arrived at your truth on that topic.
So let's stay in this lane for a second, because less than 1/3 of 1% of the African American population are shot and killed by police officers.
Right.
Okay. So I want to say less than 1/3 of 1%. Okay. And that is a statistic that a lot of people are getting hung up on, right?
Right.
They'll say less than 1/3 of 1%. Now I don't know, and I would have to do some quick calculations on the white population, probably even less than that, right?
Right.
But we'll say, but the police have killed more white people. Okay. All right. But if we're talking percentages of population, less than 1/3 of 1%, those are the deaths. All right. So the experience is maybe 80% of the African American population have the same experience, just not shot to death.
Right.
So, and that's where I think we our blinders sometimes are on.
Right.
Because, I can show you when a white guy was shot and
Right.
killed. And there's more white people who have died. Well, there's more unknown that have been killed by the police. We absolutely love the police. I've got friends who are police. I think they do a fantastic job
Right.
in most cases. But I've never been thrown on the hood of a car because of the time of day or neighborhood that I was in.
Right.
So,
I
but again, if the same story goes all across the United States that this is happening and they feel this, doesn't mean that they die. People just means that they're being treated differently.
I mean, if we've had multiple experiences with guns being pulled by police officers, I didn't die, but those weren't good experiences.
Yeah, no, right.
Those aren't going to show up in the records to show that, so I don't show up as a statistic for someone who was murdered by police officers, but I've had multiple pull guns. So in my mind, something does need to change, although your stats may not show that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've had, 3 sheriffs knock on my door at 6 a.m. One in front of the door, one flanked off to the left, and one down in the driveway with their guns drawn at 6 a.m. I get it. I mean, I didn't need coffee that morning. Like, whoa.
That's a way to wake up. That's a little different than Folgers, but
and then and then we come to understanding of what's happening and the situation, and then I myself look back at it and go, seriously, did you guys need to have your guns drawn here? I mean, I'm showing up in my shorts. I got dried drool on the side of my face.
When I hear the words Ashley Jones, I think crime lord. That's
right. So you sit here. Now that's where I go with it, right?
It sounds diabolical.
But at the same
armed
time,
to the teeth.
At the same time, I've never had anybody shot by that sheriff's office.
Right.
I've never been, again, like I said, thrown on the hood of a car. So the interesting thing is, right, is it's experience. Yes, you have. Guess what? You may just crack the door.
Right.
You look up there and be like, wait a second. Yeah, you may then call 911 or something from inside before you answer. You're going to act differently because of your experience. Ash says, I've had them pull on me, 9 cops, to be honest. It was the scariest thing ever. But now all I can think of is, thank God it was me that night, not my husband. Wow. And that's a wow factor because of the experience, right? And she's. I wonder if people ever have to think, "Thank God it was me and not someone else you love." Now I wonder what would have happened. Right? It's coming from a whole different place. And oh yeah, Ash, quit playing the victim.
I don't see how people mean that. I don't like when people hear a person's experience and a person is genuinely telling you the fear that they have. I don't understand the stop playing the victim response without trying to understand that that's how a person arrived there. Like something had to happen traumatizing to get a person to
as a white guy, I always worried sometimes when I say thanks for laughing at that, Ash. Appreciate that. Like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that.
That's why it was like, you for joking like that. Like
but that's the point. How angry or how upset are you at life that I have to look at another human being and go, quit playing the victim? I understand that you spent 10 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit. Quit playing the victim, you jerk. You shouldn't have looked like the guy who did it.
Right.
What?
The mentality just baffles me.
Yeah. And it's not just it's not just, again, it's not just with race. It's if you have a D or an R. I don't know.
But I mean, the whole thing is the contradiction of how things actually change. Things only change from having the conversations of, hey, listen, this is a problem. Let's converse about the problem and let's fix it. But if a person's never allowed to say this is a problem, and we understand, okay, this is happening to enough people that this is actually a problem we need to take serious, nothing changes. So if there's a situation that's going on where people are being oppressed or ridiculed or mistreated, and you don't allow them to voice that so that could change, like that's a problem with you.
Right.
That's something that you need to do some self-reflection on.
Yeah, and Ashes, I've literally had someone say, "Oh God, you lived. It's fine. Don't forget you're white," and a whole bunch of other shit just because I shared the story. Yeah, yeah, and that comes from both sides. Morning, Steph. Glad to have you with us. That comes from both sides, right? I mean, listen, yeah, there were 9 cops, but they saw you were white, so hey, it's all good. That's why you're not in jail, and that's coming from the African American side, perhaps. Like, oh, you're lucky you're white. Yeah, hey, you still have 9 cops draw on you. That's traumatic.
It's still a bad day.
I mean, those are the things that get etched into your brain. I mean, I can still see those sheriffs, because again, there's guns drawn. Whoa, hey, what is going on here?
Right? Can we de-escalate the situation a
right.
little bit?
I got a BB gun in the house. That's it. I swear. I'm not coming at you. Hey, look at that, Mr. Hogan. How are you?
Morning, brother. How are you, Steve? I'm gonna call you after this.
Lelos. So when we're talking about what we do, I was there because my husband gave a statement, and then the police turned around and made him. Oh Jesus, yeah, and yeah, come on, right? It's that, policing is a hard job. It's a hard job. It's stressful. You never know what you're going to walk up on.
Right.
But I think a lot of times what we see and what we read about is we've forgotten that that's a human being.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, Phil might have a son and might have a loved one at home. Hey, Ash may have, maybe a husband, maybe some kids at home. I wonder what we're taking away if we shoot her in the back or through the whatever, right? At the same time, police are saying, I've got a loved one at home. I've got this.
Right. And they want to make it. They want to make it open too. So we understand that. Right.
But again, through whatever training, through whatever programming, it's draw first, ask questions later now, right?
Right.
Or oh my gosh, here's a 6'4" African American who's in a far better shape than I am. Get down!
Get down.
Like, oh boy, we don't care that he's an entrepreneur and an author, but boy, he's 6'4". Let's get him. Let's get him on the ground, right? And what the odd thing is with these experiences again is I can say I've never had a gun drawn on me while I sit in my vehicle. So I can say, Phil, you're exaggerating.
All right.
Right. And then in lies the rub. I'm not open-minded enough. We're not open-minded enough as a society to say, oh, well, maybe that did happen to you. Sorry, dude. How'd that make you feel? Right.
I don't remember what I was listening to. The person said it. Well, if the person wasn't playing a victim, what would that change? If we were having the conversation and we could literally have you stand on the foundation of this person isn't being the victim, this person is telling you something that is serious and you just take a look at. What does that change as far as how you now hear the situation or understand or feel about the topic?
Give me an example.
If blacks weren't exaggerating the numbers of how many times they're harassed by police officers just by the color of their skin, they're not crying about it. They don't want sympathy or anything like that. It's just this happens so much. It does need to get taken a look at because this is serious and people are being incarcerated by fabricated numbers and stereotypes.
Okay.
So if they weren't exaggerating by how much this happens by people who are supposed to serve and protect them, now how do you feel?
And again, I think it all falls back on experience, right? But it's never happened to me. It's never happened to anybody inside my social circle. So we love the police and they do a great job. So I'm going to guess, well, because you had hoodie and baggy pants and you were listening to your rap music real loud and your car bounces up and down that you deserved it.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, for instance, if you were telling me, like, I think old white guys have a good life, right? If we're gonna do that, right?
And we
if you were, it's like it's quite fantastic. As a matter of fact.
That's right.
But if all of a sudden, like you, Mark, my bald-headed white friends are telling me that no, like when you get like over a certain age and it's old white, like police target you. I may at first kind of be like, do they? But if we're going to go by it based off the foundation of this is literally a problem where we get harassed by police officers, although it doesn't happen to me in that situation, hypothetically. All right, so how do we fix this? Because this is a problem. Because people that I know and people that I care about are being targeted.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus it's just not my experience. I would still, despite how good I think you have it, at some point we'd come to the conversation like, all right, who do we talk to locally or nationally and get this fixed? Versus just the victim.
But again, we're lazy. Human beings are lazy, right? So, listen, I saw a meme about it. I read a link from Facebook about it. It doesn't happen to me, so I've got to take what I hear over here in the coffee line. And that's my basis of perception and reality at that point, right?
Right.
So, and it really hasn't affected me, so why deal with it? It's not broken, but it is.
It is.
But it is, and that's and then all of a sudden now, and we talked a little bit about this on the grounds as well. Is well, change is bad. It's uncomfortable. Police are doing their job. Change is bad. Okay, well, guess what? Why do they? The SWAT team shows up to every traffic violation now.
Right.
We've militarized, quote unquote, the police, and now it's game on. And because of the above the law ability, the wall of silence, all this stuff goes into the court of law. Right. We look at it and say, well, they had the right. It's in their job description to shoot them. So guess what? We're going to suspend you with pay for a couple of weeks and take away your Wi-Fi, and you can't go out and play with your friends, and you'll be back on the force before you know it.
60 days.
Right? And your buddies who were all there, nothing. They're not conspirators. They're not
conspirators.
Conspirators. They're not. They weren't there to help this crime, or So those guys are all good. But you got 2 weeks off, right? Go sit in the corner and think about what you did. Yeah, right. And I haven't heard any word out of Louisville to see how that is going. It'll
be interesting to see how they do that.
And I haven't heard how it's going in Minnesota. They're also being looked at. So that'll all come out. But as I told Phil, with this, here's what happens. Half of America is going to say, they're just. That stuff didn't happen. They're just making an example because of Black Lives Matters. Just what they're doing.
Right.
And the other half will say, finally, justice. And that's because in Mayberry, Barney and Andy never did anything wrong. That's what the police force is still to us, right?
Right.
Lucy, when ever since she was a little kid, when she sees somebody, the police have somebody pulled over, oh, busted, like, and that's sad. It should be like, and so I've always tried to tell her, I'm like, how do you know that they weren't driving crazy, and they're here to serve and protect? So how do you know that they weren't protecting everybody else on the road?
Right. Making
Right.
sure that somebody wasn't driving reckless.
Yeah. Right.
Get them.
Yeah. So it's the narrative that we're fed, I think, like the gentlemen in the Army who were laundering money and then sending guns to Chicago.
Right.
A lot of guns, right?
There's like 91 guns that they sent to Chicago. They traced the guns that were purchased. There were like murders in Chicago, and then they traced them back to where they were purchased to, from like right outside that fort in
purchased
Tennessee.
Legally. Right, and the gun store owner is going to look at a military guy and go, "Well, you're in the Army. There you go. Here's cash for a gun."
For 91, but for 91 though.
Okay, I'll be back next week. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Got another load coming through. 100 guns.
Yeah. Now, and again, it just says three military, right? And I don't even know if it said the Army, but I think it was an Army base that they're out of in Kentucky there. But it was just 3 military people,
right?
And as I said, you look at the narrative. If it had been 3 white guys, and there's no pictures, I'm assuming. Right. I tried to look for pictures; they didn't have any. I'm just assuming by the names, except for maybe Randy Miller, that all of them were not white, right?
Right.
But if it was 3 white guys, it would be white supremacist, military white supremacist, funnel guns for black or something like that, right? And so I think the narrative and what we're being fed, you either have to eat it or dismiss it or go, maybe there's something in there, right? And when it's a minority, it's pictures. It's pictures, right?
Yeah, I want you to know exactly who did it.
Yeah, and it's pictures after we messed up their hair,
right?
Photoshopped a couple of tattoos on their face. These are the bad guys. Well, these fellas. That's got to be some sort of. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but you're in the military. That's going to be a dishonorable discharge. That's going to. Has to be. And I don't know, treason. I don't know, but. Right. There was money laundering. It was quite an operation. It wasn't like you and I drove down to Kentucky and filled a pickup full of trucks and drove back to Chicago and goes put on the the ice cream truck music to start throwing guns out the back, right? And there was some smart people involved in this, but how does that even happen? How do you gun shop owner go, "Hey, Phil, you're back again. Oh, you need
for the 7th time." Oh, because it had been going on since 2019.
Right.
So this wasn't like a one transaction type of thing. This is multiple transactions of these people like buying dozens of guns from.
Hey man, I got kids to feed. I got a double wide I got to pay for. Hey, come on, man, that cash is good. That cash is king. You need another gun? What do you need? How about one of these? Just exactly what are you hunting?
Right. Oh, don't worry about it.
We're taking them back to the base.
Back to the base. They need more there. They were out.
So then I'm doing a good thing for America. Here you go, fellas.
Send me to the store real quick.
So I think, and do you think that people are starting to wake up to the different narratives out there? Do you think that they're starting to question? Yeah, maybe that is wrong.
I think we're getting there, and even when the police officer from Minnesota was kind of released, kind of secretly behind the scenes. And you're like, you told me that this was going to happen. People are starting to see more of, and that's why, like,
That was the Kenosha one, right?
no, this was the George Floyd officer, Chauvin or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right. It also did happen with Kyle though. And so when we're having those conversations, and I've asked people, if you look at the posts throughout the years, it's like, listen, just, I'm not going to keep arguing with you. Just keep track of this title when you see these types of people. Keep track of the terminology. Like you said, if it was these officers, it would have said white supremacist officers do this for Chicago. If it's black kids, it says these thugs, animals, whatever the case. But watch the pattern of what you see. Watch how, okay, this goes by. Now keep track of this trial 90 days later, and you'll see them trying to switch things up to say that, well, maybe it wasn't just murder. Maybe we got less of the sentencing for this individual who shot someone in their apartment in Dallas.
Yeah, and that's and here now we've broken, right? We've broken the story to Ash's point. Everyone wants to use what about the black on black in Chicago, instead of how are those people accessing? How are these kids getting those weapons so easily? And that's the reality, and nobody cares how it started. Only what can be used to benefit their agendas. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's so on point. And listen, if you don't think that there are places in America that are still just riddled with racism, now listen, I don't want anybody to send in hate mail right now. I love American Idol. All right. I absolutely love American Idol. There's a young man on there. He's a high school student who is a talent beyond talent. He can write songs. He can sing songs. A country kid. And he was in the top 5 of American Idol, and he had to withdraw because a picture of him in the KKK and around the Klan surfaced. And here is a kid who had the world at his fingertips. And he's maybe only 17, so he's not even an adult yet. Mm-hmm. But at some point in his young life, it was okay to do this or be around this or whatever the case may be. And we didn't think about the repercussions that it may have down the road. Right? So think about that when you say, it's all better.
Is it?
Is it? Right? I mean, is it?
Watch how many instances there are of people at schools who are just kidding with minority students, and they say things and they write the fake apology. Get slapped on the wrist.
And I mean, this is Hollywood. This kid in the top 5 of a major network show, and they could have tried to cover it up, patch it up, whatever. And guess what? They chose to do the right thing. Be like, you've got one of two choices. You can either leave by yourself and put out a news press release by yourself, or we can kick your ass out of here. And he chose to leave on his own recognizance, right? Gary says, I understand that video was not of a KK but someone dressed up as a character from the movie The Strangers Pray at Night. It's a good spin. And listen, like I said, when you get into the top 5 of American Idol, you've already pretty much signed several record contracts. So they're probably going to spin that story pretty quick, right? I don't know what the movie The Strangers Pray at Night is, or what that looked like. I don't know. So I can't say, Gary, and I appreciate that. And that may be the true case. I don't know. But ABC said, we don't want any of this. So we'll move along. Right. So it's very interesting. So I think, that, but to my point is, it's still very rampant in several areas in the United States, and it quote unquote a way of life in several areas. Now, and for those of you listening, listen, we've talked about it before. If you haven't caught one of our prior shows, is
talking about this.
Yeah, yeah. So Gary says, Gary says that the titular character wears a sack covering his head and a full coat and tie suit. So that one's not quite, doesn't look like a guy in a suit
I
and
don't
tie.
see a tie suit.
I mean, but that's not. I mean, that's a picture of the kid playing and a picture of a KKK. So I don't know if that's the. I don't know what picture. I haven't
That's
seen it.
that's supposed to be the picture that surfaced.
So yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know which one serves. So Ash says, to my point, these black kids can't use the excuse they grew up around a shitty neighborhood or were bred into a certain life, but this white kid will be excused by many as he was dressed up or he was young and made a bad choice or it isn't his fault. But then the black kids don't get that excuse. From who? I guess from society, from the police, from
Read it again.
so yeah, so here it is. So she says the white kid will be excused as he dressed up, or he was young and made a bad choice, or it isn't his fault. But then the black kids don't get that excuse.
Oh yeah.
So what
Do you get what
excuse?
she's saying?
Yeah, no, I do, but from who? That's what I want to know. From
Just
society,
society.
from
Yeah. I mean, society, legal, any
from
legal
white
party.
people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, let's say it's from society, police, a lot of people. Um,
Because if you even look at a lot of the sentencing for non-minorities that they're sentenced, they're
yeah,
not tried as adults. But typically, if little Marcus is 16 and he
yeah,
sells drugs, he's tried like an adult.
yeah,
He at 15 he didn't know, or 15 at
yeah.
17 the white kid didn't know. At 15 or 14 the black kid knew.
Yeah, Gary says sounds a bit like the critical race theory dogma. Yeah, and so, and again, you saw my reaction, like I have to stop and think because as a coach, as a person who's coached every ethnicity that's out there, I encourage them to fail. I encourage mistakes. I did a lot of stupid things when I was a kid. Um, I tell people, people bring up politicians. Well, they said this back in the 70s. People can change, right? And
Right.
people do stupid things when you're younger. Um, and that's where I was going to go is I was going to, come back and say, I myself says, no, people make mistakes. You can make dumb mistakes. I've got friends who are covered in tattoos and gang tattoos who are no longer in gangs, and they but
Mm-hmm.
if they get pulled over and the police see that gang or a cover up, but they're gonna assume, right? So I'm I'm always the guy. I love everybody. I don't want anybody to be unhappy, and I would say no. That's just they made a bad choice. It's they're you were a dumb
Right.
kid. I get it. That's me. That's not society. That's why I asked, right? And
Yeah.
I had to catch myself to say, you're wrong, right? No, that's my belief
Right.
and where I come from, and there's several people who don't. So yeah, and that's and it's so hard. As long as you have people, you're going to have racism
Right.
because people are raised differently, people are around things differently. Um, Somebody's going to have a bad experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hey, I got my nose broken, by a brother, and let me tell you, I don't. I didn't say it was all black people who broke my nose. I mean,
One specifically.
right. And then coming to look at it, I go, probably deserved it, right?
Right.
You
Had that
step
one
back
coming
out of
to
the situation after the nose stops bleeding and goes, oh, what happened, right? And
him.
and all right, and he and I are fine today, and he does a great job, uh, you know, um, and with his life and his kids. I mean, it's great. But again, that was a moment in time. Doesn't mean that I hate him now. I look
Right.
back and go, yeah, no, yeah. I should have got hit in the face. Right? Ash says there are so many cases, kids, same age, same charge, no priors, but the sentencing is different. Only difference in kids is color of skin. So Kyle Rittenhouse is a great example. He's supported by many in society, but if the color of skin was different, he wouldn't be out on bail getting drunk at 18. Yeah, he probably wouldn't have had people from Hollywood front that money either, right?
Right. But
In
you're
the
in a
go,
bar. You're at a bar at 18, getting praised.
yeah.
How are you at a bar at 18, getting praised and throwing up whatever this symbol means? Whatever.
Yeah, maybe maybe it was just on his way home from church. He was stopping to get Sunday chicken. I don't know.
It was nighttime.
I know.
Y'all
I don't know when he goes to church.
Y'all church is over at 10:30. I love it.
Hey, Southern Baptist go all day. Don't kid yourself, right?
Our church got 2, 4.
I know because I saw it on
Medea?
Medina, whatever. Yeah.
Been here since 9. It's 4:15.
See, and many in society will sing out a white kid in a situation, but most black children don't get the singled out situation. They always get grouped to they are animals or savages or from the ghetto, so who cares? Now, I want you to be careful with that because the person who tagged animals and savages got voted in. We'll be careful with that.
And another person who says the same thing left the White House. So.
Yeah, we can trail that back. But if you want to talk about the system, somebody was there for 3 years, 4 years.
I understand. That person told people to go back to Africa if they were unhappy. So,
hey. Rich people say a lot of dumb things, right?
If you don't like it,
that's awesome. That symbol means okay, or 3 in the rest of the world. Only the U.S. did it suddenly become the symbol of white supremacists. So
you still know what it means.
Yeah, right. Love the media movies, especially the Halloween movies. Tyler Perry is freaking hilarious. Yeah, see, yeah, right. Tyler is hilarious. Me and Lucy just been like streaming all his shows. However, they're all the same. The business model of the private prison system and the typical human greed and corruption place anyone who is not connected or financially capable on fast track. Many POC contend with that as well. And hello. Yeah. Hey, Shana. Yeah. So you're right. Now that it's a privatized and money making system, it's like a hotel. The more beds that are filled,
the more money we make.
Money I get, right? Medea. That's it.
Yeah, Medea.
Yeah. What did I say? Medina? What is that? That's like a golf course.
Medea?
Yeah.
I'm still impressed that you watched it. Good job.
Yeah. No, we need some dinner. Smacking kids all around. It's good stuff. Yeah. So that's an issue. And who's easy to put in there? The kids, parents can afford attorneys, or the kids who can not, but will be given counsel from the public defender.
Right.
Which, oh, by the way, all I've got to do is get through this stack of cases to get my paycheck.
Good luck. Good luck.
Right? Huh. So figure that out. Somebody looked at the symbol and concluded that 3 upright fingers represented W in American Sign Language and linked it to white supremacy. Well, it was the one going down like that, but when you do that and it's below your waist, I punch you.
Right? People don't know that.
That's right. The ASL for W is different. American Sign Language. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is Snoop Dogg West Side, so we got Wonder Lake.
Wonder Lake.
Right? Okay. All right. It was such a misunderstanding, but it spread like wild. Oh yeah, yeah. We'll take it and run. We'll put it in memes, and if it's in a meme, it's got to mean the real stuff, right? But that is again, that is and hey, listen, you fill up my prison, I'm going to give you a kickback.
Right.
Hey, I'll send your precinct some money. Or I'll guess what? You know those new cars that you guys need. We'll send you those new cars.
We'll cover
But
it.
I need my beds filled. I need the community hotel loaded, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
got 'em. When someone let the that's right. Ooh,
You're
gotcha.
getting punched. You're getting
That's right. Good
punched.
fun. Yeah. Meanwhile, the rest of us outside the U.S. Were like, what?
Right.
You
So
know?
then, Gary, let me ask you this, Gary. So if people in the United States who are associated with KKK, if that group in particular thinks that this means white power, and you see people who are caught into racial situations where we can give them the benefit of the doubt, we can not give them the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't not like black people. He just so happened to shoot a minority. He was out protecting the neighborhood. Cool. But if everyone in that group is throwing this sign up with the intentions of saying that it means white power, and this person who just murdered people goes and takes pictures with that same group and throws with that same symbol, we're still trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like I really through the whole Kyle thing was like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but maybe he just doesn't like black people. Maybe he doesn't not like black people, but like stuff happened. Cool. But then when he went out and took pictures and threw the symbol up, I don't think he was meaning okay. If two other people in the like all three of you guys decided to get drunk and throw up, okay.
I mean, I tell my kids, people get crazy about this, right?
Right. But like I
Right.
couldn't be like, well, this means one.
I tell my kids, I'm like, it's just a finger. Listen, it's the intent behind it, right? It's just a finger. So it's just the intent behind it. So to your point is when they're doing that, it's the intent behind it. It's like flashing a gang symbol. The hand gestures mean nothing, but it's the
Except for
intent
those
behind it.
people. Well, the people who are part of that gang know what that means.
Well, right. That's
And
it's the intent, right?
and I could it's Crystal Lake, but it's also Crip. So okay, I can't say I didn't know what that symbol means.
Hey,
Like
growing up in the '80s, if you threw the forks down, I mean, watch out, right? Hey, and thank you for all of our gang members who were tuning in today to 21.6 The Net. We appreciate
We
bridging.
appreciate you, cuz.
We know this is a big one on there. All gang stuff stops. They're like, wait, bridging civil tensions up.
I picture the gang listeners sipping their coffee like, oh, thanks a shout out.
Yeah. No, I am not. Listen, I know the symbols. I'm not part of a gang. I run with Jesus Christ. That's who I run with.
JC.
And that's and really that's Wonder Lake. It's Wonder Lake, man.
I'm gonna go back and screenshot you doing that for Wonder Lake and have a T-shirt that says Wonder Lake and Kid Jones throwing up the West Side.
Oh, no, I'm kidding. So listen, absolutely love it. As to what I understand from the facts, it wasn't the KKK that stated what it meant, but they seized upon the outrage that could be provoked from the other side and ran with it.
Right.
And that's okay. Again, we go back to intent, right? Absolutely. You have to wonder when it's taken in context why the hesitation. It is intent that is most important, but once it's been claimed by pop culture to take an alternative meaning, it has to end. Yeah, Shayna. Yeah, absolutely right. And again, this goes back to what Phil was saying: is when do we say it's wrong?
Right.
When do we say that doesn't mean it? That's wrong. It doesn't mean white supremacy, right? When is it? When do we stand up as a society? When do we stand up as people and just say, it's not right?
Like when the guy Zimmerman, how he goes and tours and he signs Skittles bags.
Oh, you're kidding.
We could say that he just likes Skittles and act like we don't know that it means specifically that he shot a black kid with a Skittles bag in his hand.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But he's out doing book signings. That's interesting.
Skittle
Or Skittle
signings.
signings. That's interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
we're like, oh no, don't make it a big deal. It doesn't mean anything. How?
Wow. Wow. Here in Asia, we use that symbol in our WhatsApp messages daily to mean okay. So I wonder what will happen when the woke ones visit us.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my gosh.
Gary, there's this that is okay,
I'm with
and
you.
then there's where they put the thumb down to make it look like more of a P, and that's what he was doing. Like this is that's okay, but that extra part right there is what he was throwing up to have that for the power.
I don't know. The old people with chronic arthritis, white
All of
power.
this is impossible.
Yeah, it's terrible. But truthfully, that's what we're talking about here. Who are you bridging? Who are you? Are you able to? Next week, when you're back in studio, we'll cover it. We've run out of time.
Right.
I absolutely love. Very, very humbled. Thanks for getting caught in the net this morning with us, everybody. Thank you for everybody. You share us, like us. Yeah, thanks. Hey, I try. It's a.
The effort is there.
I'm like, I can't. I don't even know. I have to do this. I got to do
I
this.
saw that. I really saw the assistance. You phoned a friend for
I
twisting
can't.
your fingers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bad.
Officer, I couldn't have claimed the West Side. I don't even.
Yeah, thumb cramp.
Oh, it hurts.
Absolutely. The more we address intent more zealously than the actual words, it should fade naturally. People don't like feeling less than the word. Yeah, exactly. And I don't even like reading it. But when we use that as an intent to describe an individual, yep, absolutely. However, to slow something down is to retard it. But again, it's the intent. So for all of us here at 21.6 Net, thanks for getting caught. I think we've got Steph's bookkeeping today at 3:30. We've got tonight, tune into at noon, we've got Dream Home Ninjas. Dream Home Experts, not ninjas anymore. And tune in tonight. I'll be on at 8 o'clock with the Dream Home Experts, talking a little bit about some mortgage issues.
Hey, we may do a giveaway for whoever asks the most questions to build without being offensive. If someone can be even for next week and say that I asked this many questions, sincerely just looking to hear more on this topic for the person who asked the most, we may do a giveaway.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I'm with it.
Let us know. Appreciate everybody. Go check out LALOS clothing line. Where do they find that at?
On Facebook, and then you can also find us at Learn to Sew on Facebook as well.
Learn to Sew as well. LAOS, live a life of significance. You want to change the world? Do it one shirt at a time.
Yes, sir.
All right. For all of us here at 21.6 Net, Phil, so blessed and glad that you are feeling better. Stay healthy, my friend.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you next week.
All right. We'll see you.